Wow, look at that. This is just absolutely fantastic.
With such an amazing coastline, it's no surprise that many of us fantasize about living in a wonderful home by the sea.
We've got salt water in our veins. Us Brits just love being by the sea. We're drawn to it, as if by instinct. And you can't help falling in love with the sights, the sounds, the smells. It's magical.
I'm architectural designer Charlie Luxton, and in this series I'll get a unique view of some of Britain's most fantastic coastal properties. I'll design fantasy houses in some incredible seaside locations. I reckon that's got to be one of my favourite views I've ever seen. And meet the people who realise that ambition to have a home by the sea.
It's referred to as the Teletubby house.
How do you feel about that? It's beautiful.
How could you not love that view?
In today's programme, I'm in Wales, finding out what it's like to live on the dramatic Pembrokeshire coast. It's a place where the hills have eyes. Cottages can also be castles, and the sunsets are extra special.
I think there's no better view in the world than this.
Surrounded on three sides by the sea, Pembrokeshire truly is a coastal county with a wide range of landscapes, from tall, rugged cliffs to wide estuaries and sandy beaches. It's also home to Britain's only coastal national park, which has helped to protect and preserve this amazing bit of our coastline. Pembrokeshire is located on the southwestern tip of Wales, and to begin my journey I'm sailing into the town of Fishguard on the county's northern coast. It was once a bustling fishing port, however now its picturesque lower harbour is home to a fleet of pleasure boats rather than trawlers, and this is where I'm coming ashore. And straight away I'm drawn to the colourful cottages that are dotted around the historic quayside. Most of the old buildings around here are made of stone and latterly of brick. But because of the climate, as those storms smash in off the Irish Sea, many of them have been lime washed, pebble dashed, and then painted in these pastel colours. And it's this mishmash of colours and textures which really creates the look and feel of these Pembrokeshire villages and towns. But the first home on my itinerary is as far removed from these traditional Welsh seaside homes as you could possibly get.
I love architecture and good design, so I couldn't come to Pembrokeshire without visiting a really special home, a place called Malator. And it's just over there.
However, this is a home so well camouflaged amongst the gorse, you could almost head along the coastal path and walk right by. But when you do eventually spot this architectural chameleon, it blows you away. I suppose, strictly speaking, Malator is a 3-bedroom seaside bungalow, but built into the hillside overlooking beautiful St Bride's Bay, this is unlike any bungalow you'll have seen before. Retired MP Bob Marshall Andrews is the man who calls this place home.
What's it like being here in the winter?
Well, it's not like this. I mean, it's...
He's agreed to give me a guided tour of this futuristic cliff-top property.
Those glass windows, which are 12 foot high, move an inch in the wind.
So the whole thing's kind of bows as the wind blows.
It's bowing in an inch. First time it happens, it's very alarming.
The bespoke windows overlooking the bay are the home's most striking feature. However, with its green roof and jaunty steel chimney, Malator has earned a rather endearing nickname.
It's referred to universally as the Tellytubby house.
How do you feel about that?
Enormously happy. Enormously happy. I mean, I don't actually go out and do the sort of tinky-winky or dipsy.
Bob, I can see the
onesie. The onesie. I mean, children come in, and quite often there's quite considerable disappointment when they look at me and say, "You're an imposter." Or, "You're not. You
don't have a telly in your tummy."
No, exactly. I mean, what have you done with them?
There is a childlike simplicity to this house. It's built using a few basic materials: steel, glass, and of course that rough turfed roof. But beyond these raw elements, there's real genius at work.
Where did the idea come from for this incredible design?
Well, the concept that it needed to be ecologically friendly, I mean both visually and also in terms of sustainability, that was the starting point. It is an eye. It is an eye in the landscape.
Just looking out to sea.
Looking out to sea.
Malator was designed by architects Jan Kaplitsky and Amanda Levitt, famous for iconic buildings like Birmingham Selfridges store and the media centre at Lord's Cricket Ground.
Shall we look around?
Let's look around.
And it's easy to see how this place fits into Kaplitsky and Levitt's canon of work.
Look at that. Just everywhere you go, it's just these fantastic curves.
There are a few straight lines, or even corners here.
This is beautiful, isn't it? Just the curves. Everywhere you look, like this curve, wrapping round, it just sort of never stops, does it?
It's the curve. I mean, I think that's very special.
And I think the fact that the roof continues over the top of these pods is also fantastic.
It gives it, well, that is what it was supposed to be. I mean, it's modelled on the underside of an aircraft wing. I mean, Jan explained it to me, and he said that it will float. It will make it appear that everything in the ceiling is floating.
The colourful prefab pods house the bathrooms and help divide up the open plan space between the central living area and the 3 bedrooms.
They came in just like that, with the shower, bathroom, and
all finished.
And everything else, all finished.
I mean, that must have been quite a view, this kind of fluorescent yellow pod driving through the Pembrokeshire countryside.
Well, yes. I mean, it's alarming.
And while this luminous shade might not have been Bob's first choice, the palette of colours was another part of the architect's master plan.
I mean, this is wonderful weather. I mean, look at it, and it's going to get better and better all day. But it's not always like that. I mean, sometimes it's
grey.
Dark. Well, it's Stygian gloom, but the yellow lifts it.
So it's always sunny in here?
It's always sunny in here. Now, that was a masterstroke.
And even on those grey days, the rear windows and glass door coax in light and help prevent the central living space from feeling gloomy. However, it's the 12-foot high glazing on the seaward elevation that creates Malator's standout moment.
I mean, this view is extraordinary, isn't it? And I love the fact the entire house has been designed around making the most of this view.
The thing about this view in here is that you notice the view more when you are in here than when you do outside. I mean, because of course it has a frame.
Like any piece of wonderful architecture, this simple, functional home has become more than a place to live. It's a work of art.
It's sort of otherworldly sort of spaciness, it's sort of 60s space vision, makes it sort of timeless.
Well, I think the reason for that is because it is so sympathetic to its landscape. It sits so comfortably into the landscape now that it's here, and that's what gives it the ageless quality. And every time I'm here, I mean, all the time that I'm here, I look at it and I think how incredibly lucky I mean, I am to be able to come here.
I mean, it's a beautiful house.
Visiting Malator was a brilliant start to my Pembrokeshire journey. On the next leg, I'm on site with a couple in the middle of building their dream home on a Welsh cliff top. And I have a few suggestions about their plans.
See, if I were designing this, I think what I'd do is I'd put an island here so that you can cook and look at the view.
Good idea.
There's a lot of cogs. I can smell burning. There's so many
sense.
cogs going around in your head.
And I head upstream along the Nevern estuary to catch up with a man living life on the edge. Well, the water's edge at least.
Wow, this is a beautiful room, isn't it?
I think so.
That's a very good view.
I'm in Pembrokeshire visiting some fantastic homes by the sea. I'm discovering how the geography has shaped the architecture here and finding out what it's like to live so close to the ocean's edge in this amazing coastal county. Pembrokeshire lies on the southwestern tip of Wales, and it's a place where you're never more than a few miles from the sea or an estuary. Most of the properties I'll be visiting here are located right next to this, Pembrokeshire's famous coastal path.
186 miles of mainly cliff-top trails that winds its way through the national park and allows you to take in this. Some of the most beautiful coastline anywhere on the planet.
Today I'm walking a small stretch of the path between Goodwick and Fishguard on the county's north shore. High up and overlooking the old harbour of Fishguard, I reckon this would make a fantastic place to live. I've a passion for how we build modern houses, and I've come to meet a couple who are in the thick of doing just that, high on these cliffs. Engineer Ian O'Donoghue and wife Angela, who's an accountant, moved back to the UK with their 2 children after 10 years in Hong Kong.
Ian, you're originally from Fishguard. How did you end up back here?
That's right, I grew up in Goodwick over the valley, and many years ago as a boy I used to run this coastal path, and I always used to look up at that house with cover to size and imagine one day that could be mine. And through a combination of luck and good timing, we were able to afford to buy it when it came onto the open market a few years ago.
And I can totally appreciate why Ian fell in love with this place. The original home on the plot was brick built in the 1950s and covered in white render, but its age combined with the winds whistling off the Irish Sea meant it was drafty and dated. So Ian and Angela are dramatically remodelling it. Their new sustainable home will eventually incorporate huge swathes of glass to the seaward side, giving this 20th century property a 21st century makeover to create a timeless home.
This view is really special, isn't it?
Yeah, it's magnificent, and it's really the prime reason we purchased the property. It's just fantastic. You've got everything from the sea and the headlands to the countryside, the mountains in the distance, and closer in you've got the moorings, Fishguard Fort, and then the beautiful picturesque harbour.
And there's a lovely little cove down there, and you can pick mussels off the shoreline.
Really, fresh mussels.
And cook them with shallots and wine and cream.
I love that. What about the changing pace of life? Because you have come from one of the most kind of buzzing metropolises on the planet to this.
Initially, I was still on that pace and I was walking fast everywhere and rushing around and doing things. And then, you know, I thought, why are you walking so fast? You know, there's no need to. So gradually, I've slowed the pace down and I think I'm nearly there now, 1 year later.
Sort of getting into Welsh time.
That's it, yeah, Pembrokeshire time.
It's certainly a more relaxed way of life here. But crucially for Ian and Angela, it's also about having space. Which is no surprise, given the family lived in a compact, dare I say, tiny flat in Hong Kong.
Do you think living in a 70 square metre house has affected you in any way? Because you've really gone for it here, haven't you?
We've gone from the sublime to the ridiculous. We lived in what was a concrete rabbit warren to something which is quite an extensive home, but what we wanted was to be able to see the blue stuff out there as often as we could.
Ian and Angela are a year into this build, and before they can relax and soak up that scenery, there's a few more months of hard work ahead. For head builder Gareth Marpole, working on the project has brought about a serious sense of déjà vu.
When we bought the house, we were taking Gareth through some old photos that the previous owners had left behind, and he recognised himself actually as a young apprentice.
With hair?
Probably back in the 80s. This was 85, 86. There's Gareth there. That's him building the porch.
You haven't changed a bit, have you, mate?
One item, yes. We were sitting around having a cup of tea, and the photos were hand round, and it was just like a, hang on, I think this is me.
I recognise it.
Yeah, then it actually come back then, yes.
God, what are the chances of that?
Small world, yes.
I think what Ian and Angela are building here looks fascinating, even at this incomplete stage. To fully understand how the home will function when it's finished, I want to study the finer details.
So the kitchen will come around here, this area, dining table here, and a space for my office there.
However, when I see the plans, I can't help but make tweaks. And I think Ian and Angela are missing a trick when it comes to their kitchen.
One thing looking at this that concerns me a little bit is this kitchen is really tucked away around the back here. And this is the view. I mean, this is what the whole house is about. So if I were designing this, I think what I'd do is I'd put a wall across here, make this a utility room, so like a back of house kitchen. Then I'd look to sort of wrap the kitchen and put an island here so that you can cook and look at the view.
Good idea.
There's a lot of cogs. I can smell burning. There's so many cogs going around in your head. But listen, I mean, I think there's some really good stuff going on here. I mean, the view's to die for. Good luck. I hope you get in by Christmas.
Thank you very much.
A major renovation project like Ian and Angela's is one way of getting the seaside home of your dreams. But if you prefer something off the peg, there's a wide range of properties on the market here in Pembrokeshire. The city of St David's, with its medieval cathedral, is a place packed full of character. The Victorian cottages here are typical of Pembrokeshire, but there are some homes nearby with histories that date back much further. This 3-bedroom Grade 2 listed barn was built in the 17th century. Inside those thick stone walls, it's been sympathetically converted and is on the market for £425,000. The elegant resort of Tenby on the county's south coast combines beautiful sandy beaches with some classic Georgian and Victorian seaside architecture. Cobbled Crackwell Street is one of the town's coolest addresses, thanks to the colourful townhouses overlooking the harbour. some of these 4-storey homes have been converted into apartments that are a snip at £175,000. But not everything on the market is a period property. In nearby Sandersfoot, this detached 4-bedroom house was built just 2 years ago and designed specifically to embrace the sweeping views across Carmarthen Bay. This luxurious waterside home comes at a price. Yours for £1.25 million. The next stop for me is Newport. A small town nestling between the Irish Sea and the gorgeous Preseli Mountains. It's a popular place with holidaymakers thanks to its sandy beaches and the quaint charm of its narrow streets. Much of Newport was built by the Victorians, and most of the town has got this very quintessentially Welsh render with these lovely colours. But some of the buildings aren't rendered. I've had the render removed to expose this lovely stonework behind. This is grey and blue stone from the Preseli Mountains, mined just nearby. And when you add to that, well, this being Wales, slate, you've got the most wonderful warm palette of materials. Strict planning guidelines in the national park require new build properties, even the most contemporary, to somehow incorporate these traditional materials. One house that does just that is Riverside, Duncan Fitzwilliam's new home, just a stone's throw from Newport. With its white render facade and slate roof, it looks like it's sat here on the gorgeous River Nevern estuary for decades. Having already seen some amazing cliff-top homes, I'm keen to find out what it's like living as close to the water's edge as you can possibly get.
Hello.
So I'm climbing aboard Duncan's boat for a trip upstream.
Can we go look at your house? Like, it's somewhere over here, isn't it?
It's over there.
Well, should we go over and have a look?
Let's go and have a look.
It's a great way to get to a house, by boat.
It's perfect. We do it a lot.
Duncan's home is about half a mile away from the main harbour, up the narrow river estuary. Duncan was brought up in neighbouring Cardiganshire, but he has ancient ancestral links to Pembrokeshire.
So how did you end up in this part of the world?
Well, my mother's family have been here for 1,000 years.
Right, okay. So a while.
A while.
How do you know they've been here for 1,000 years?
Well, Welsh documented everything. Actually, there are several books written on the family because of their longevity. They were never very grand, but they were clever, I think. They fraternised with the Normans when they arrived.
Always a good survival technique.
Always a good survival technique. And they undoubtedly helped Henry VII as he marched right through this area on his way to Bosworth.
Your stock is truly Welsh.
Well, I would never support England at rugby.
Well, neither would I.
And I played.
That's fine. Why retire here?
I think it's the most beautiful part of the world. And I adore being on water.
So is the sea, is that a big,
The sea.
big
I
draw?
adore being on the water.
And you can't get much more on the water than Duncan's home. It sits so close to the estuary's edge that it feels more houseboat than riverside home. Coming up, I'll be venturing inside to unlock some of its secrets.
That is so James Bond. I feel like I'm in a sort of spy novel. I really like that.
And I'm visiting a castle that's become a fairy tale home.
Robbie just looked at it and said, I'd like to live here if you will. I mean, he hadn't even looked inside. It won his heart.
I'm in Pembrokeshire, discovering a breathtaking part of Britain's coastline and visiting some fascinating homes. From a renovation project high on the cliffs to the futuristic build within them. The estuary town of Newport is where I'm currently exploring, heading to Riverside, the home of retired businessman Duncan Fitzwilliam. Having appreciated its waterside position on the River Nevern, I'm keen to discover if the interior is equally as charming.
Wow, this is a beautiful room, isn't it?
I think so. I mean, how could you not love that view?
I'm sure it changes every month of the year.
Yes, it does. It changes all the time, and the sunsets here are fantastic.
The huge picture window gives Duncan a panoramic view of the estuary and the array of wildlife that it attracts. It's like his own personal hide.
Look at the heron out there right now, the gulls and everything, and the otters are here.
In the salt water?
Absolutely, and there are a huge number of rare birds that come here, and I'm constantly looking at my bird book.
The crisp interior style gives this home a fresh, modern feel. However, it's a place with a history that stretches back to the 18th century. Back then, it was used as commercial premises rather than residential.
One theory is that it was a fish factory.
Right.
And there was a herring fleet which laid up on the sands there. But I suspect a fish factory would have been quite smelly.
I don't suspect. I know. I've seen a couple. I'm pretty sure, yeah.
The decline of the area's fishing industry saw Riversley eventually become a two-bedroom home. And it turns out that Duncan has an extraordinary connection to this property.
When I got the deeds, it indeed had been owned by my family, my mother's family.
When? I mean, a long time before.
Long time before.
And that had been lost in your family folklore completely.
Yes.
Fate is a funny thing. Duncan had intended to renovate the original cottage. However, the poor condition meant that he had to start again from scratch.
So what is left of the original house?
Nothing. Externally, it looks very similar. I mean, we raised the roof slightly, we put on some dormers, we knocked this out, so we had the view.
I mean, it's a new house.
It's a new house.
That's impressive because coming up the river, I thought it'd been here forever.
The only real thing that's left is that beam.
It's a nice beam.
It's a nice beam.
It's a nice
it was above one of those lovely Welsh fireplaces.
Okay, so the fireplace is rebuilt, the beam is retained.
The beam was retained.
The beam's not the only historic artefact that Duncan salvaged from the old place.
Tell me about this incredible old thing. Is this part of the original house then?
Well, it was part of the original house when we moved here, and the previous owner told me that it was a submarine ladder from a submarine that had been scrapped that one of his ancestors had served in. We thought it was so interesting that we'd keep it.
Definitely.
And I've got another one which I had galvanized, which goes down into the water. So there were two submarine ladders here.
And while it's not quite as cramped as your average sub, the home is quite modest, which meant Duncan had to be quite creative when it came to certain elements of the design.
Storage space is a little bit limited in this house, so we've had to be a bit inventive, and we had a lot of books, but we utilised the under-stair space to make a wardrobe.
That is so James Bond. I feel like I'm in a sort of spy novel. That's fantastic. That's the kind of stuff of kids' dreams, that is. I might nick that idea, you know.
Well, please do. Remember where you saw it first.
I'll name check you. I'm going to nick that idea.
Duncan's created a truly wonderful home right on the water's edge. At the end of my visit, we've been joined by his son Logie and daughter-in-law Annabelle for an alfresco supper on the Riverside deck. For me, it's Duncan's historic links to Riversley and Pembrokeshire that make it truly special.
It's nice to have a bit of connection.
Absolutely.
I'm like an old salmon coming back to its spawning beds, you know?
And as the sun sets over the Nevern estuary, this is a delightful way to appreciate what it's like to actually live here. I can't imagine anything more fitting than sitting on this terrace eating fish and chips. I mean, you know, a wonderful Welsh summer eve.
I think there's no better view in the world than this. I'm so glad you're here, by the way. We really enjoyed it.
That's very nice of you to say. It's a beautiful part of the world. I'm back on the National Park's coastal path once more, this time heading towards Strumble Head, a rugged piece of Pembrokeshire between Fishguard and St David's. This landscape is absolutely breathtaking, but you can imagine it's a pretty hard place to live and work. And I'm about to meet a man who will testify to that. And in fact, his whole life story, well, to me, it's as inspiring as that. This exposed patchwork of fields and pasturelands on the cliffs above Strumble Head belongs to beef farmer Mike Kurtz.
Come on, let's go.
Born and bred here, the 54-year-old has been working the land in this part of Pembrokeshire for decades.
Go for a run. Go for a run.
With a little help from Caddy, the Jack Russell.
Typical day for me is usually I'm up around 6:30 in the morning. I like to go out and see the cattle first thing in the morning, make sure they're all right. I've got a small herd of pedigree Welsh black suckler cows.
Perfectly adapted for the climate.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, they're hardy out here.
While Mike looks after the herd, wife Kathy ensures the two small holiday cottages they have on the 65-acre farm are ready for the next guests to arrive. I've come down to the farm to meet Mike and Kathy. Things appear idyllic here, but this good life was almost snatched away from Mike when he was just 10 years old.
My father and mother moved here in 1958-59. Father started milking cows here. He milked up to 35 cows here in his heyday, but sadly he passed away then very early on in his life. He was a young man, had a heart attack. Then mother, she had 3 young children then, and to stay living here she had to sell some of the land off. So she sold 40 acres of this holding off to a next door neighbour.
The decision crucially allowed the family to keep living here, and Mike eventually followed in his father, Eugen's footsteps, farming the small pocket of land that was left, while also working elsewhere to make ends meet.
Come on, Chips.
And after marrying Kathy, the couple were determined that the now smaller farm in this stunning location should still be their home.
These views are just exceptional, absolutely outstanding.
Do you remember the first time you actually came up here?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. It was the late 70s. I was 15.
Really? You met that young?
Yeah, we met in school and
we met in
it
school
went from there.
And when you came up and saw these views, did you go, right, he'll do?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I thought I can do something with this place.
Kathy was true to her word. While Mike's mum, Cater, kept the 200-year-old farmhouse, they converted and extended this stone barn into a cosy, country-style, 3-bedroom home that exploits its scenic position. After years of having just a foothold on the Strumble Head cliff tops, an opportunity came up 7 years ago to restore the farm to its former glory.
The next door neighbour offered us whether we wanted to buy the land back.
Had that always been something you dreamed of being able to do?
We couldn't believe it when he came knocking on the door and saying, "I'm selling the land, do you want to buy?"
What did it feel like when you finally managed to put the farm back together?
Yeah, that was.
It's great.
That was something else. Like, you know.
I knew it was very important for Mike, and it was quite important to me as well.
But as well as the cattle, it's the buildings that are integral in making this farm a success story again.
To stay living here, we have to earn money off the place.
Yeah.
So this is one way of
It's a modern farming, isn't it?
Yeah,
You've got to do lots of different stuff.
Diversify.
And thanks to their own son's fondness for this magnificent part of Pembrokeshire, Mike and Kathy's farm looks to be in safe hands for generations to come.
The boys are very, very passionate about their home and the kind of life that they had growing up. It was a wonderful life. I mean, you can just run free and it's just, you know, it's just unbelievable. So I think as far as that goes, the place itself is, I think, going to be safe.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Yes.
This part of the Welsh coast around Strumble Head is not only beautiful, it's thought-provoking. And on the final part of my Pembrokeshire journey, its jaw-dropping scenery inspires me to design a fantasy home by the sea. You can imagine there'd be this light cube just sort of floating almost in the sky on top of that hill. Would just be breathtaking. And go dragon spotting at a coastal castle in Newport.
I said, I'm sorry, the dragons are all gone away for the winter. So immediately 30 hands said, there he is.
I'm on the final leg of my journey around the craggy coastal county of Pembrokeshire on the southwestern tip of Wales. So far, I've seen a real mix of properties, all designed to embrace their proximity to the sea. From the space-age beauty of Malator, buried in the cliffs above St Bride's, to a traditional home on the Nevern estuary you can sail right up to. They've all got my architectural juices flowing, and made me wonder what kind of fantasy home I'd like to build here if I could. So I've been here a few days and I've looked around, and when I was talking to Mike and Kathy, I saw behind me this incredible old World War II lookout post. It was actually finished in 1945, never used, but it just sits there on this amazing headland, this kind of solid brick box. It's sort of ugly, but it's kind of beautiful in a strange way, and I think if I could build a house anywhere here, it'd be there. And what I'd like to do is build a beautiful kind of glassy box on the roof. So there's this massive contrast between the weight of the brick block box below and the lightness of this glass box above. And actually it would reflect the sky and the clouds and would sort of disappear on a day like today. Something magic about buildings that can sort of appear and disappear. The bedrooms would be in the brick ground floor section, while upstairs would be the main light-filled living space. This would have a twin skin facade of glass and timber louvers to prevent overheating. And the view is that. And I don't know, but I reckon that's got to be one of my favourite views I've ever seen. Like its neighbour along the coast on Strumble Head, it's at night I think that this building would really shine. So if you can imagine, there'd be this light cube just sort of floating almost in the sky on top of that hill. Would just be breathtaking. I mean, I don't know if they'd ever let you do it, but it's nice to dream. If my ideal property could be considered a flight of fancy, then the last home on my Pembrokeshire itinerary, back in the estuary town of Newport, is the stuff of fairy tales. Newport was founded in the 12th century, and for hundreds of years, that imposing castle up there was a real focus, a hub for the whole town. Now, much of it has been derelict for the last 400 years, but amazingly, parts of it are still lived in. And the people lucky enough to live here are Liza and Robbie Watson. Now, you may not expect a medieval castle to be that comfortable, but fortunately, there are two sides to this story. Because round the back is a 5-bedroom Victorian cottage that's much cosier. The majority of the Norman castle, including the keep, which would once have stood in what is now the lawn, fell into ruin about the year 1600. All that remained was the gatehouse towers, into which the house was ingeniously built in 1860. Liza and Robbie, who run their own language school, have lived in this unique property for the last 5 years.
So I'm intrigued, how do you end up living in a castle?
How did that go?
That went well.
No,
how do you end up living in a castle?
Just pure absolute chance. I saw a tiny 2-line advertisement in the Saturday Telegraph saying long lease available on coastal Welsh castle. Which,
perfect.
Well, yes, we thought, will we be in a little box in Carnarvon with a cap selling tickets? Or, you know, there's a lot of Welsh castles all the way around the coast. Anyway, it was here, and we were just incredibly lucky.
The couple had been living 2 hours away in Brecon and had no idea what to expect until they made a clandestine summer evening visit to the castle.
We came through that little gate across there, and we tiptoed across. Although we knew there was nobody here, somehow you still
felt
tiptoe
naughty.
across. Yes. And we tiptoed across and we looked out over that view at the sea, and Robbie just looked at it and said, "I'd like to live here if you will." I mean, he hadn't even looked inside. It won his heart.
But the Watsons haven't been the only ones to be bowled over by this castle's position high above the town. Sir Thomas Lloyd, 1st Baronet and Liberal MP for Cardiganshire in the mid-19th century, clearly was too. And it was he who transformed a crumbling ruin into the present-day house.
The Victorians built this, I think, as a weekend cottage, and they, God knows what it cost them, I mean, fantastic amount of money, and they restored the towers and then built this Victorian house into it.
Inside, Robbie and Liza have created an elegant period home with hints of its historic past. The lower section of the 12th century gatehouse tower houses a long dining room, complete with bespoke windows fitted into the defensive arrow loops. However, the exposed stonework in the traditional kitchen is actually mock medieval and dates back to the 1860s. It's taken some hard work to make this 150-year-old cottage suitable to withstand some of the tough storms that batter this part of Britain.
I mean, today it's summer, the weather's very clement. What's it like here in the middle of winter?
It's very exciting. I mean, the first winter it was like living in a colander, and it wasn't quite as exciting. It was a very cold winter, and we found it quite hard. But then it taught us, and we got the windows sorted out, and we got the heating sorted out, and then it's lovely in here. Fire going, looking out to sea, pitying poor sailors. It's
yeah, northwesterly gale. It comes whistling in straight across the bay.
I can imagine nothing better than hunkering down in here and watching the weather roll in off the Irish Sea. However, that scenery isn't always conducive to a productive day in the office.
I mean, you must get distracted.
I find it very hard, and then I see a boat going out and I have to shout, "Robbie, Robbie, they're going out in the boat," and it's down tools and out we go.
Like many historic homes, Newport Castle is shrouded in legend. From ghostly ladies haunting the corridors to dragons living in the dungeons, or so the Watsons would have visiting school groups believe.
I said, "Well, I'm sorry, the dragons are all gone away for the winter. It's hibernation time. But if anyone does see a dragon, I'll give them £1." And what I'd forgotten, that up on the battlements by the gate there is a stone dragon. So immediately 30 hands said, there he is! And I thought, oh dear, I've lost 30 pounds.
I've not seen many cottages that are guarded by their own Welsh dragon, or for that matter, built into the side of a castle gatehouse. But Robbie and Liza are certainly lucky to have such an interesting and unique place to call home. I've come to the end of my journey around the Pembrokeshire coastline. It's given me a fascinating insight into how the architecture of this region has been shaped by the rugged and rural landscape, and how it's inspired people to create wonderful homes that seek to exploit and embrace this fantastic coastal environment. I've been to this part of the world a couple of times and I always knew it was beautiful. But over the last few days I've seen some amazing houses and met some people who have really chosen to make their lives here. And they have got such a passion for unspoilt Pembrokeshire that it's infectious. This part of our coastline is simply stunning. Next time I'm heading to Devon. It's a place where cutting-edge homes emerge from craggy cliffs. Estuary views become infinity pools, and the architecture transports you to whole new worlds.
That's great. I'd expect to see that in the canyons in LA.